There you go. Hello, hello. We are live. It's happening. And we go. Hello, Danielle. How are you? Welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Malika, the Chanting Queen, and we have Danielle Couteau or Danielle Couteau. It's hard for me to pronounce. I don't even know if it's a French name, but it sounds French to me. It's hard for me to pronounce French names in English. But welcome. I'm so glad that you're here again. I feel like today we need to address a little bit of um, our inner child. But hey, how have you been? How's your week so far?
It's been good. Lots of ups and downs. Today was definitely like a slower day for me. My body asked me to slow down today and just rest and take it easy and not rush. And it's Kudo. It's my husband's last name. It's Portuguese. So that's where you get the I don't even know how to pronounce it for reals. So oh well. But yeah, it's been good. Lots of ups and downs. Today was a slow day. But yeah, lots of ebbs and flows coming in and out as per usual, right?
Yeah, lots happening still. Today I had a few tears this morning and I share with you. And I feel like it was my inner child needed some love. Like without going in details, I think we all go through some phases of emotions, whatever they are. And we just, even if they're uncomfortable and sometimes they're hard to admit to ourselves, but I think it's just we need more love. We need to give ourselves more love. We can't always ask or take take love from others when it's not necessarily there. We can't like try to find the love. Maybe that's like old people pleasing me kicking in and going like, but what could I do to get the love I need right now because I'm feeling like depleted in that area. It's like, well, wait a minute. I know, but ultimately there's me. I have love for myself. I have a beautiful life. There's so like having that switch sometimes is so needed. Well, of course, I confided in you, and I felt like I needed to share a little bit. You were there to validate my experience, but also to listen to me and where I was going through. My French accent is coming out tonight. I wonder if I'm a little tired. No, it's been a lot of home time lately, like really spending time at home and with my son, or not with him when he's with his dad, and just nesting, like and yeah, doing more things for that are nurturing, you know.
It's that season though, right? We're getting into that winter season, that slowdown. So naturally, we as humans are ready for this slowdown. It's not crazy harvest anymore. This is when you slow down, conserve that energy, spend that time in your home, and go within. And we can use that model, that outside, that external cycle, right, of slowing down with the seasons. We can use that spiritually and with our own work too, right? This is the slowdown to go within, to go through stuff. Yeah, you were feeling some feelings this morning of your inner child. And I know, like, a lot of the time we'll have these feelings and these emotions come up from that inner child, and we like want to like rationalize it away and not give it space, when really like those feelings are valid. Even if they don't feel like they're rational in your rational mind, that doesn't matter to that inner child. That doesn't matter to your spirit. It's not about rational, right? It's about those feelings and how it makes you feel. So I'm so proud of you for expressing that and allowing yourself to feel that, because sometimes people have such a freaking hard time feeling and expressing their emotions. And when we don't feel and express our emotions, they don't have anywhere to go, right? They stay stuck in our auric field, and then they're going to come out at some point, one way or the other. So if we just like give in and feel and express those feelings right at the get-go, it's crazy how much faster it moves through you, and it doesn't like hold you and block you up the way that it would if you wouldn't feel it, right?
I think there's a lot of ego in this, where we are afraid to truly feel that emotion, but also to be vulnerable. But ultimately, those uncomfortable emotions are important because they allow us to move through shit, right? Like, so we have to sit with them and do whatever feels right. I did a couple of meditations today. I listened to a beautiful um, light code activation for grounding. I help my son a lot because I get to work and homeschool my kids. So we have time together, time at work throughout the day. But there's lots of cuddles and snuggles that are sneaked in. And these all feel like the perfect remedy, the perfect little self-loving day. I don't have time to drive to the spa for a day, for example. That would be nice though. Oh, we should do that this week. But um, just being home and being present with those feelings, how uncomfortable they are. But I think the most important part is not to be able to share them to someone. It's more like, let's share them. Let's be honest with ourselves. Like the fact that I shared that with you is not necessarily what helped me move through it. It's more like I feel like I need to share, I need to be heard, but I'm the one responsible to move through those. I can stay in there forever if I want to. I can go self-pity party, victimizing myself. Like I've done that, been there, done that. The only person that it hurts is well, other people around you if you're negative, right? But other than if you're not negative and you're sitting with it, the only person that hurts is ourselves, right? So, there's a way to sit with the emotion without letting it take over everything. And I think we talked about this in a couple of episodes, in a couple last week or the week before about um oh, I just lost my train of thoughts. It just happened like that, where I corrected myself and then I just lost my train of thought. Well, it doesn't matter. So inner child. What comes up when we think about the inner child? Like, is that something negative? Is that something positive? Is that trauma? Is that, like, I know you've healed my inner child at some point. I think that I- I've forgotten it or it got lost or suppressed, most possibly, in my childhood. So how do we deal with that? How do we embrace our inner child? How do we accept, love our inner child?
Honestly, the best way is to like do some really cool, you can do your own inner child healing at any point in time, right? Get into a bit of a meditative stance, put on some meditation music, listen to a guided meditation. But it's really just like slowing down, going within. You can step into your heart space, which I know we talked about a little bit on another episode, and ask to see your inner child. Go in, step into that heart space, and you'll find a version of yourself in there, that wounded, hurt version, right? And then just, what would you do if you saw that inner child and the pain and the hurt that she was in at that point in her life? What would you, as a grown woman who is full of love and compassion, like, how would you treat a little girl that you saw in front of you that was feeling that way? Right? It's crazy, like, how we can like separate ourselves and disconnect ourselves from that younger self of ours, like, so easily, right? It would have been totally different. Like, we treat our inner child sometimes with very little respect, Meanwhile, if we were to see a child like that in front of us, like, what would you do? And that's all you can do within in your spirit is go to that little child, you know, pick her up, wrap your arms around her, put her head and like just give her that love and that attention that you craved when you were a child, you know? That's the best way, honestly.
So recently, I think I read or heard somewhere that one of the biggest trauma in childhood is separation, right? Separation to daycare, separation to school, separation to go to bed. And all those separation become affect some of us. I'm sure I have been affected by that. So that's a thing that I feel I'm definitely trying to change as being, even though I'm a solo parent, I'm really conscientious of working part time and spending time with my kid and homeschooling, and we even co sleep, right? So there's like a lot of layers of that I can control in terms of separation. And then when he's not with me, he goes to his dad pretty much 24/7. So I feel like that if there's something that I've been wounded with, I feel like we're giving at least, well, I'm going to talk for myself, but I'm giving at least this to my child to repair maybe that, that, how do you call this? Help me out here. Generational. Woo, I got it. That generational, trauma that I'm trying to break in this life. Like I'm the last woman of my lineage. I only had a boy, and that's probably it for me. So, this is, I feel like it's my role to heal some of that um, trauma that's been passed, not only from my life or my childhood, but that's been passed from my mom, my grandma. And I've never met my grandma, and I feel so connected with her, although I don't know her. I just know of her a little bit. Very few people have told me stories about her, but I feel like it's almost my responsibility, and I feel like it's almost even more of my responsibility because um I I got a boy, and I feel like this boy, he needs to learn like I'm sure if I had a girl, I would teach her to stand up for herself and all the things that I teach my boy, right? But we know how in society there are a lot of abuse from, mostly, not all, but mostly from men to women. And a lot of men have lost the way to treat women properly. Like lots of relationships are actually breaking, and it's not just men's fault. Like we have a lot of healing to do, but relearning or just learning things we haven't never learned in our life, right? That haven't been passed to us. So I feel like it's really my responsibility. Do you feel the same? I mean, you've got lots of girls and lots of kids, but do you feel like it's a responsibility in your life?
I feel like honestly, like my soul tells me that this specific time in history, this is what we're all meant to be doing right now. We're all coming to this a place of awakening. We're all coming to this place where we recognize the trauma that's taken place, and we're finally in like a safe enough space on this planet that we're able to work through those feelings, or we're able to work through and release that trauma, like in our parents' age and our grandparents, and even before that, you didn't talk about your feelings. And if you don't talk about your feelings, how are you supposed to work through them? Feelings were seen as weak. That's some more conditioning that's been coming on to us, right? Another reason that we don't want to talk about and don't want to feel and don't want to go through our emotions, because in the history of the planet, that was seen as weak. And if you were weak, you died. That was it, right? You were yeah, It's sad. It's a sad truth of the state of humanity, but that's the way it was for so, so long. And this is that generational trauma of just humanity as it is that we are working through, because we're finally in a place where we're safe enough. Like, yeah, it can be inconvenient and everything's expensive and yada, yada, yada. But really, if you look back at the history of the planet, like, this is the most that the middle and lower class has ever had. If we look back at the lower and middle class from centuries ago, you know, they were in a lot worse shape than we are now. Right. So where it's just healing those humanity traumas as well as our familial traumas.
Yes, and that's the vibe that we're feeling. I feel a lot of people are feeling all those essential symptoms, and we're all going through so much. So the word that came to today was to trust, to flow, but also to take time to integrate all the learning, all the teaching, all the grieving. There's been a lot of just like this uncomfortableness with all the shifts happening. There's so much grieving that needs to be done, and we need to take the time to do it. Talking about generational trauma, the whole world trauma, our soul, our past lives trauma, right? And that's something that sometimes we have no control over. There's some blockages, there's some things that have been done that are not allowing us to move further. I kind of feel like I want to chant. Do you want to do a little chant? Yeah. Okay. The one that comes up with of course, with the inner child healing and the nurturing and because when you were talking about, like, think about your inner child, a child in front of you, that, if a child in front of you cry, what you want to do is hold them in your arms and just give them love and security and say you're safe now, right? That's pretty much what we need. So Gopala is the young youthful Krishna, and he basically finds this through his birth mother Devaki, and he finds bliss, Nandana, which is derived from Ananda. So I like this song because it's just a nurturing. It's like a heart warming cup of tea. Here you go. Like a beautiful winter heart warming cup of tea. My tea is not even warm anymore. I need to grab my mug to go when I do my lives. Okay, so Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandana Gopala. invite you to just sit with this feeling for a moment and just stay still. Hmm. Just feel how it feels in your body. I feel like a lot of the hurt that we get in life comes from taking things personally when we shouldn't. So the first feeling often, or the first reaction to a situation, I feel like it's often our inner child that comes up. Like the non-wise version of us. Not that it's invalid, not that it's not okay, but it's like the first impression of some, the first reaction often is that inner child or that ego. I don't think inner child necessarily comes with ego, but I feel like it can be with it. Not necessarily the same, but they can go together, right? And and I feel like when we reflect and we go inward, we start having the empathy, the compassion, the understanding, the well, maybe it's not exactly what I think it is, and there's possibly more explanation to it, right? Sometimes people get triggered, but sometimes people just need space or need to process things without having to expose it on social media, right? Not we don't have we can choose what we share, we can choose what we put up front or what we share with the public. And not everyone deserves an explanation for everything. So there's a lot of like that hurt that comes, the first emotion that comes is often that child that gets hurt, that gets abandoned, that gets ignored, that gets invalidated, whatever it is, right? And it's okay. These emotions are okay, right? But I feel that if we don't allow ourselves to move past this, to go deeper, to go outside of us, not necessarily just deeper in us, but to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Then, and it doesn't mean that it's okay what they did or that your experience is not valid or your feelings are not valid. It just means there's deeper understanding. And there's always, nothing has to be one way or another. You know, they're all this gray zone of, and I think when we can bathe into the gray, then I feel like there's more space for peace, for inner peace. Don't you think?
Yes, totally. Totally. But it's stepping back and being that observer of the situation, right? Stepping back and saying, okay, wait a minute. Where is this hurting me and why? Right? A lot of the time when, before we really start doing this work, our gut reaction, like you said, is to feel hurt and to feel this, but it's not even necessarily from that exact moment. That's that old hurt coming up again. It's that inner child saying, hey, because it didn't feel expressed and heard and felt the last time. It's that blockage in that system that's asking to be released. So if we can step back and start thinking, like asking ourselves, why am I having these emotions? What is triggering these emotions? Why are they coming? Anna, I don't have any scissors in here. The kids are crafting. You have the scissors? No, I'm pretty sure you lost them somewhere. But when we can start analyzing and noticing where these emotions are coming from, yes, we can still feel them. And just because we're understanding where they're coming from doesn't mean make them any less valid, right? But we can choose whether we're going to act from them or not, right? We can still feel them, we can still express them, but we don't have to base our actions off of them. We can base our actions off of that observer, seeing, like you said, both sides of the situation, seeing the hurt of yourself, but also seeing how the other person in the situation probably wasn't meaning to hurt you and is probably dealing with their own shit as well, because let's be real, we're all dealing with our own shit. Anything that we're doing to others around us are really because of a lack and a difficulty within ourselves, right? We're creating that reality. That external reality is mirroring that internal reality. So just recognizing that, hey, it's not always about me. Generally, if somebody has a problem or if somebody takes issue with you, it's nothing about you. They're taking issue and having a problem with themselves. And we have to recognize that even if we think we're past that, we're like, it's always there. Those feelings are still there. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're any less awakened or any less far on your journey. The difference is acknowledging that you're feeling those feelings, right? Accepting that, yes, I'm feeling those feelings and this is why. Whereas I think a lot of people get stuck in the shame of feeling those feelings. Well, I shouldn't feel those feelings. And then that shame takes over and it stops you from asking yourself, well, why? And it stops you from experiencing them and feeling them to their extent, feeling them to completion. That's what we want to do with our emotions. We want to feel our emotions to completion. Because if you just let yourself have that fucking cry and you just give it your all and you just give into that cry in the moment, that doesn't mean that you're going on Facebook and bitching about it. That means you're sitting with yourself, feeling these emotions, allowing them to take you over and following them on the ride. Because the moment that you give in and just let it happen, it's amazing how quickly the completion comes and how quickly you're like, I don't have any tears anymore because I don't feel that pain anymore. I've experienced it and I've moved past it, which is like super empowering when you're allowing those emotions to come and moving past them. Because then when we feel safe in having these emotions, the next time a similar emotion comes up, you're like, hey, wait a second, I've done this before. And if I just do it and just go through it and freaking follow that ride, it makes it so much easier because you know you'll be fine on the other side, and you recognize that you'll probably get to the other side a lot faster if you're not fighting it the whole time. Right?
So we get more equipped as we grow, right? Learn as we grow. That's why I say about my garden, but it can apply to anything in life, really. So when we talk about inner child healing and working with that, what kind of crystal should I put under my pillow tonight?
There are so many good crystals for inner child work. I really like green fluorite. I think is really nice for inner child work. It has that uplifting in that heart chakra, right? Because we need to understand that that's where our inner child like kind of hides itself. It finds our heart center, our heart space. Not to be confused with the heart chakra, it's a little different, right? The heart space is more than just the chakra. It's like encompassing all of our energies as well. But that's where our inner child hides, right? And if we can find stones that complement that, also rose quartz, is that what that is? Heck yes! Rose quartz is a phenomenal inner child stone because it's that self-love, right? And that's all that our inner child ever wants, is that love, acceptance, and just grace, right? Is that Amazonite? Amazonite's another good one, right? Because that allows us, that Amazonite kind of sits between the heart and the throat chakra, because it kind of has the blues and the greens. So it really helps us express those feelings that are coming from our heart, that are coming from our inner child, allowing those to come up and out, right? Because once they come up and out, they leave our field. And then we're no longer holding it any longer. And obviously, one that I love for all clearings, for all releasings, the black tourmaline, right? Because it's going to protect you. It's going to make you feel safe and secure. It's going to allow you to have that vulnerability because you're in a safe space, right? And it's going to help clear out all of that gunk that is no longer necessary. It's no longer necessary. You know, find that limiting belief, find that inner child wound and say, thank you, but you no longer resonate with me anymore. Thank you for keeping me safe. Thank you for keeping me safe in those moments. I understand where you're coming from, and I love you for it. And I am here to accept you and give you love and tell you that it's safe. We don't have to feel like that anymore because we are in a safe place, right? It's like, yeah, the inner child combo, all those.
This is so good. I want to pull a card. I know you're the card specialist, but okay, do you want to choose?
Specialist.
Warriors.
I've been feeling the spirit, honestly, the spirit animal deck. I've been feeling that one for a while now, so I would love you to put some cards.
It's one of my favorite. I have others on my shelves there, and they're just like pretty.
The spirit animal is my first deck.
And it's my son's favorite too. He likes. So I just want to pull a card. What?
Spirit animal was my first deck.
Oh.
So it's got a special place in my heart.
You gave this one to me. Actually. Yeah, and it's not my first one, but probably like one of my first ones. I have many. I'm probably not done. Okay, I just want to pick a card for the collective. I'm sure it's going to have some kind of resonance with what we're talking about. It always is a confirmation. And if it's not, then it's something that we possibly need to hear about. Maybe it's going to resonate with you. Maybe it's not. Let's see. Elephant spirit. Learn from the past. Here you go. I just love the cards. They're just right there, boom, in your face. If you can't, move through something, it's just gonna show you in the card. It's just like that. Those cards are so beautiful. So learn from the past. 25. Although we often wish that we could leave the past behind, Elephant Spirit reminds us that memory matters, and we must respect the wisdom of the elders who hand down to us traditions they have shaped to express our connection to each other and respect for the community. What has come before informs what we are experiencing today, and we must never forget our legacy of strength and dignity. Elephant Spirit appears with the message that we are to acknowledge that which came before and learn from it. All of us are memory-based creatures, and we must revisit the past to understand where we are, and where we are going. I love this. The stories of events you experienced, the stories in our collective memory, and the stories of relationships you have had can be told many ways. What story will you tell? Elephant Spirit is here to encourage you to make it one that stirs in you as a sense of power and dignity, for you honor yourself, for you have honored yourself by choosing to learn from your past. Spirit rejoices as your willingness to learn and grow. I love this because it is so true. We need to go in our past sometime to learn. And there's one thing that I've learned in last summer's festival, Earth Daughters. You were there too. We were both presenting at the festival, you with crystals, me with kirtan chanting. And we went to a workshop that really honored our ancestors. And Niniru, I can't remember her name, is that right? Had this beautiful workshop, and it once again, I feel like it was kind of like a validation for me, or like somebody was giving me permission. Like, not that I need it, but it came as a permission to for me to, when I need to go deeper within me or spend more time at home, connect with spices, dishes, maybe clothing that are, or music, whatever it is, that are in relation with our ancestors, with our past. My dad is from North Africa, Tunisia. And although I have never learned the language of Arabic, or just a little bit, there's a few things that come as the food, the spices, the smell, the music, right? For me, that's something that touches me to my soul. So these are all nourishing things that connect me to the past, but that helps me also um, nurture myself. We're talking about that inner child. So the protection message that comes is, are you feeling uncomfortable with a tradition, custom, or familiar behavior that no longer fits who you are? Do you wish the past could be erased so it could no longer cause you a moment's pain? Elephant Spirit is here to encourage you to a different story and alter the traditions in ways that acknowledge that we all evolve. Transformation is our nature. So our past doesn't define our future. It does define who we are now, even though people say it doesn't, it does. Not only our past experiences and the lessons we've learned, but like our souls past, our generations past, right? Um, and there's something that my coach tells me often, is that stories can be changed. Our story that brings us to our limiting beliefs, that brings us to possibly abandoning and giving up, because, well, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it always be. And these are such powerful words, and we have to watch for this. And then we need to break those. And that's often our job, right? When we hear people do that, or even when we hear ourselves do that, we're not putting up with that shit. We're like, right? So that nudge, right, to change that story, to change that plot, change that ending. It's not because it was like that it's going to be like that. And we have to watch our words, because those words are little contracts with the universe. And if you're asking for shit, you're gonna get shit. If you're asking, this is me, a lacking of words. If you're vibrating at lower frequency energies, this is what you're gonna get. And so the goal is to take that time, do the full circle, yeah. Take that time to rest, nurture, slow down. You're a pro at slowing down. You know when you need to slow down, right? You're like, it's written in big letters in the sky. Is that your human design?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I'm a projector in human design, so I don't make my own energy. So when I'm around generators, I can go hard like the best of them, but then I'm paying for it later because I was borrowing someone else's energy. So I really need to be conscious of slowing down. And I've noticed for me in my life, because I used to go hard, right? But I've learned the last, since my spiritual awakening, if you will, and learning who I am and what I need. And when I've learned that slow down, especially for me, I have to go like even slower than a turtle speed. Right. But when I've done that and I've taken the slow down, that's when we're able to get in touch with ourselves. That's when we're able to hear the messages from the universe, when we're able to talk to that inner child, when we're opening that third eye, exactly, and recognizing that intuition. It's all in that slow down. There's a reason that society wants us to go, 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 go. And it's because if we do take the slow down and we don't rush and we take a step back, things just kind of happen. I remember when I first started to slow down, it was nerve-wracking for me, like the guilt and shame that I was experiencing because I wasn't accomplishing things. The fact that I thought I had limiting beliefs that made me believe that I wasn't worthy if I wasn't accomplishing things and getting shit done. And, and I feel like that we all carry that. But when I was able to like experiencing those feelings, but choosing not to act from them and still allowing that slowdown to happen, and that's when everything kind of shifts. Because when you slow down and really tap into that spirit of yours, that's when things just start to align and you don't even have to try, because they just kind of all the synchronicities just start coming up for you. So it's been a big learning curve for me, but it's so worth it. It's instead of following on that cycle and that circle, I'm coming up and I'm choosing to do something different. So rather than keeping it a circle, I'm creating a spiral. You're always going to come back to the same things in your life. But if you choose to do it just a little bit differently and you choose that growth, that's when you create that spiral up versus the
momentum. The momentum.
Exactly.
Like catching that momentum. I like what you're saying. It resonates a lot with me. Developing our intuition so we can be more in tune with what we need. Or see, as a manifesting generator, I feel like intuitively I know when to stop. Or like I always balance it out. I cannot be a go, go, go. For me, I need some downtime. And I'm always super okay with like binge watching a show while cooking food if I have to, or listening to a meditation that lasts 5 hours while I'm, I don't know, reorganizing my home. For me, that is like, regrouping, recentering myself. For me, this is kind of like slowing down, even though it's not completely slowing down. But I have a good balance in my life between having my kid, working a little bit with him part-time, having not my kid, working part-time as well. I don't work full-time when I don't have my kid because I also need some time to do nothing or to reorganize my cupboards. I know for some people it's like, what is she talking about? For me, it helps me regroup my head. It's a form of nesting, and it makes me feel so good to reorganize or to get rid of stuff. For me, like I go to your house and I help you reorganize. Like this is something I like to do. Oh, that's okay. You help me with other things. We help each other. But at the beginning, when you said you can't go, you need some, when I go and visit you, I'm feeling like that's like a big, ball of energy. It's like happy birthday, right? So I come and my kid comes and I come with my dogs and it's a lot. I know, but we never stay too long. But I know that when we leave, like you love us, right? But I know that when we leave, it's like, okay, time to regroup a little bit.
It's true. The more that I'm tapping into my human design and like understanding the way that my personal energy works and I'm flowing with it more, I really recognize that I love being around people, because then like I feed off of other people, kind of like not in like a energy vampire way, right? But like I really it's hard for us projectors to see ourselves and do our own energy, right? So if I'm focused on someone else, like a lot of my life, I didn't recognize it, but I was focusing on others and just ended up people pleasing because of it, right? Whereas now I notice these tendencies in myself and I know how to work through them. And then when I'm around others, I love it, but I also need that downtime. Like I can only go into town once a day, like, and then sometimes I need like a day or two in between doing things. Like I can't just like get up and go and do something today, and then get up and go and do something tomorrow. Like, I get depleted so quickly. And when I get depleted, I get like frustrated and freaking bitter. I just get right grouchy and triggered, right? When I'm not taking the time and giving my energy what it needs, is that freaking slow down. So any other projectors out there, slow down.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing today, the themes that is coming up and in my life in general lately, is that nurturing aspect. And it could be that when we nurture ourselves, we could just be slowing down, and that's a form of nurturing. That self-care that is so trendy to talk about. It's not just a trend. It's like, if you're depleted, you can't help your kids, you can't help anyone. And I made a little reel about this today. Our kids mirror us. So if I lose my shit because I am into sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight all the time, and I don't take time to relax, to nurture myself, to hold my inner child, to drink my tea, to whatever I need to do that is, for me, then I will be more impatient. And then my kid will be mirroring my emotions. And that's a good way to, if you can't see that you're out of, space and blocked, then you can see it through your children. You can't really blame them because, right? And then sometimes you forget, what's wrong with this child today? Well, sometimes it's their own stuff, right? But they're moving through their own things too. But there is a lot with what we project, right? What we so that impatience, that this is not working. Why can't I do this? Am I stupid or what? I hear parents use those words around their kids, and I'm like, well, your kid is going to think the same thing. So we have to watch ourselves, but also I think it's a lot a game of patience and feeling that our cup is full. When our cup is full, we don't get discouraged as fast. Well, there's stress and depression and other things that could get into it. But if we are on a healing journey and we know that we're all over the place, then it's our responsibility, right? As we develop our intuition and our gut feeling, it's our responsibility to use the tools that we have gathered to help move through that emotion or rest or whatever it is, right? Use that intuition to know what we really need. And that is our responsibility. So we need to model the right behaviors for our kids. And that is something that I'm really conscientious about. I'm not a pro yet, but I'm conscientious about it. And I try to take responsibility also to my kid, you know? So if I lose my patience, I want to tell them, okay, it's not okay how I reacted. I shouldn't have to say it 5 times, but it's not okay the way I reacted. Like, my responsibility, your responsibility, a little bit of both, right?
I think that's a huge part of it too. I think a lot of the time when parents are impatient because their cup isn't full and they're feeling this and then they're reacting, it's like really easy to again go into that shame place and judge ourselves for it. But when we're able to take accountability and say, you know what, I'm sorry, and come from a place of humility with our children and express to them, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have reacted this way. Like, these are why. It's not that it's an excuse, but this is why, and I apologize for it, and I'll try and do better next time, right? And then that's also modeling that behavior for them so that they can hold themselves accountable for their actions, and so that they can, if they freak out, they can express to someone else, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have reacted that way, right? But it's like the moment you go into that shame and you start guilting yourself and judging yourself, that like stops the whole process, right? We have to not allow ourselves to get stuck in that shame. Like, you're human. You're gonna go through stuff. Like, you're gonna have
Our kids
emotions.
see it. Our kids see it and they're gonna mimic the same behavior. And then we're like, ooh, shoot, did I do that to my kid? Today my kid didn't like to lose. We played board games and there was like this big tantrum, and it ended up being like, I don't really want to play with you, my son, because that's not fun for anyone because you're crying even more and it's just luck, right? Well, I don't know if it's just luck. Well, we're super negative. Maybe. He kept getting one and I kept getting 4 or 5. So I was winning all the chests and all the cash, right? And there was like this big, and I want to hold space for him, but at the same time, this was not pleasant for me. So I left the room. And then he went on his own in his bedroom and cried. And I think there was that shame of not wanting to cry, but having to cry. So I let him cry a little bit. And then 5 minutes later, I go into his bedroom and I'm here to hold him. And I explained to him, I said, maybe we should take a break from playing those kinds of games because you're very upset and I'm not feeling comfortable playing and seeing you being so upset, and I'm scared of winning now, like it doesn't feel like a like a sane pattern here. So, and he's like, no, let's not stop playing those games, right? And I was like, I just want to hold space for him, but I don't want to force him to apologize because he's really good normally at, figuring it out. Sometimes it just needs time. Like the next day, he's gonna say, Mom, I'm sorry for how I reacted yesterday. Thank you, buddy. I was like, well, if we play again, what could we do different, right? Like, so maybe that's a conversation for tomorrow. But tonight, there was no resolving. It was just the way it is. Right now, I don't want to play games again with my not competitive board games. So I don't know. We have a couple of games that are not competitive board games, but it's tough. And then maybe because he's a solo kid too, right? You have 4 kids. It's different. There's way more chaos and fights, I'm sure. But if someone wins, it varies. Sometimes someone wins, sometimes. But with my kid, when he plays with other kids, people react because they're like, "What's going on?" Well, it's just the way he is when he loses. I don't know what to say. So, like holding space for those little beings when they're moving through those big emotions of their childhood, but not invalidating them. That's where I wanted to get. Like understanding that they're going through some big emotions, even though it's completely irrational. Don't worry, he's sleeping. But yeah, so how, yeah, just hold space for them and try again, I guess. I don't know if anybody has a solution for me. I'm sure. I'm sure I'll find a solution. Okay, so it's almost already an hour that we're talking. Do you want to do a little clearing and then say goodbye? I don't want to impose it for you if you want to.
Yes. We'll do a clearing. We'll do a clearing in regards to our inner child. And I feel like a lot of us have that blockage of not wanting to talk to our inner child, not wanting to, like, feeling like if we are to sit down with our inner child, like it would be experiencing those things all over again. And like, there's a reason that inner child is in there. There's a reason that that inner child is still feeling hurt because it never went through it in the first place, right? It shied away from those feelings and didn't feel them to completion, so that they're still stuck there. So that, again, that inner child of us is afraid to have these inner conversations because, well, it's just the habit. So let's release our fear. We're going to release our fear around feeling and expressing our blockages, just in general. That's the big one. A fear of experiencing those emotions that we blocked out. That's what it is. Fearing the experience of those emotions that we blocked out. So I'm feeling it right like between the heart chakra and the throat, right? Feeling this big blockage right in there. And that's that fear of experiencing the emotions that we once chose to block off. So when we do an energy clearing with our stones, we can move it around on our body. But we also, as we know, we have energy meridians, right? And we have this one meridian channel that runs right from our third eye up over our head and down the back of our neck. And each one of our energy meridians passes through this channel. So if we clear on that channel, we can release the emotion from all of our energy. When I do these releases, I speak as if the collective were myself, because let's be real, we are all one. The collective is yourself. So once you release for yourself, you're releasing for the collective. I release my fear of experiencing those emotions that I once blocked off. I release my fear of experiencing those emotions that I once blocked off. I release my fear of experiencing those emotions that I once blocked off. And now that we release, we want to, when we release, we make space. And when we make space, it gets filled. So we want it to fill it with intent versus allowing just anything to get in there. I recognize that I blocked my emotions for a reason. But now I have the proper tools, the proper wisdom, and the proper knowledge to experience them to completion, and then to allow them to release from my energy. So my feeling of fear was valid in not experiencing my emotions. I now have the tools, wisdom, and knowledge that I need in order to experiencing them to completion and to allow them to leave my energy field. Let's do some 3 deep breaths. And when we exhale, let's make some noise. Release. Feels a little bit lighter. And if anyone ever has problems because like I didn't get to this point where I'm able to release these emotions by myself, I didn't get here. Like, yes, I am doing it intuitively and I learned my own way of doing these things, but I had to reach out for guidance in those beginning stages, right?
And you're still reaching for guidance now. Like we guide people, but we still get guided, right? Like the coach I work with she has a coach, you know. At some point we need to accept that we need some help and some tools. But we also, even if we have full of tools, I still go see you for your tools, and I still go see other practitioners for their tools. And the more we have tools, the more we equipped, and the more our toolbox is heavy
and ready to go and handle any situation.
Exactly.
So for me personally, I have a monthly membership that I'm starting for those who are on this path and who are ready to get serious about their spiritual growth and are ready to start shedding those layers of limiting beliefs and societal conditioning and all those blockages getting in their way. So once we're done, I will post my links so that you can check that out. And obviously, always reach out.
Yes, I will add all of the links. You do past life clearings, you do card readings with energy clearings,
I've been
and
calling
you
them energy, what did I call them yesterday? Energy reading sessions. I've decided
there you
for
go.
the month of December until the end of November, I'm doing them at a discounted rate of only $33, which is like
Super cheap.
ridiculous. It's like, yeah. It's about
But
like
that's the
probably
thing is like when we lower those prices, we are offering it to access to more people, and to the people who say they can't afford it, well, it's because they are not ready to invest into their growth. That's how I see it. So we attract the people that want to work with us, right? And with that price, then they can really get to understand what you do, and then they can work deeper with you. And I know you offer 3 levels in your membership, which is pretty clever. And then people can slide from a level to the other, but you want that commitment, right? That 12 months commitment. And that's the thing. It's the same for my membership too. I like to work with people for more than 1 month. If we're going to work together, then let's work to a year. And it's like, well, you do your work, and we meet a few times, and we show accountability by showing up. But I also sharing where we're at and take it all in. Now we have to be open to that growth and that uncomfortableness, because it is bound to happen. It happens to me almost every day lately. Like I have those days of extreme joy, and like my heart is like beaming in full light. And I have other days when I'm like experiencing some heavier or like uncomfortable feelings. And doesn't mean I'm not joyful or happy or my life is a nightmare. It just means I have to move through this emotion. And that's the thing is like this morning we did this beautiful online workshop with Tessa Tinio from Tinio Wellness. She knows so much information. She's so knowledgeable about women's health. And I lost my train of thoughts again. I think it's because I'm tired. Anyway, this workshop was amazing. And we learned so much about the stress and how it can affect our body. And it's available online. And yeah, my train of thought is lost, but we have lots of beautiful offerings. It's all going to be in the description. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to do this as a regular thing. We're going to be doing this on the Crystal Healing Mama's channel and the Chanting Queens channel. Thank you again for tuning in. And if you're watching replay, let us know what you thought about this offering, this chat. And I'll say thank you, thank you, thank you, Danielle. Oh, I love our chats. It's like a check-in slash let's chat and check in and share with the world what we're feeling, what we're going through, what's happening, right? And I love those chats. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, thank you to everyone joining us. And I can't wait to have more conversations like this again on my channel next week.
Bye.